Y'all, why is Mirla on this show? Let's get into the video. What's up, y'all? It is Tasha. I am back with another video. Thank you so much for stopping into my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share with everyone that you know, especially those who watch Married at First Sight, who can deal with these shenanigans that we watch every week with us. All right, let's get into this episode, y'all. We are season 13, episode 4. We know all the couples are now married, spending the first night with each other. And, you know, I thought this episode was going to open with everybody waking up the next morning, and then we'll do the whole in-laws thing and off to the honeymoon, right? Why are we opening the episode this week with the couples back in their wedding attire and us still having conversations as if last week we didn't see everybody get undressed and get in the bed? I really dislike the editing with this show. I really dislike the editing with this show. It's probably the worst of any show that I watch. But I digress, because here we are to review it. Anyway, we see Johnny and Bao. They're on the bed, and there's actually a note on their bed talking about them having a traditional bed for their culture. As y'all know, like, they changed into the red and gold outfit, so their bedspread and pillows and everything was the red and gold. Something about signifying, a bunch of babies on the bed sheets, something of that nature. I don't know. I checked out a little bit because I just, again, wasn't sure why we were revisiting this. The next couple that I did see up was Mirla and Gill, and I got as far as Gill offering Mirla a foot robe, and she was like, no, that's not going to happen. And then I was just kind of frustrated because I was seeing where they were going with just revisiting useless information or information that they've already told us in the first 20 minutes of this show, and the show was long enough, so therefore I fast forwarded through the rest of the couples that had to get out of their wedding attire all over again. So if I missed something of importance, drop down in the comments and let me know, y'all, because I can't. I can't. I pick up where we see all the couples waking up together. Looks like none of them had absolutely horrible experiences as far as somebody, walking or talking in their sleep, snoring, drooling, whatever. Looks like all went well. Jose and Rachel, they wake up real touchy-feely, and I'm like, did y'all get it in? I would not be shocked at this point. But she finally gives this man a compliment. She tells him that he is perfect. And he's like, oh no, I'm not perfect. And she's like, well, you're perfect for me anyway. But I'm like, thank God you've given this man a compliment, because he was all in his head before the wedding, at the reception, every single time. So he starts blushing like a schoolgirl, and he's just so excited that she has given him a boost to his ego with a compliment. Gill and Mirla, they wake up and they talk about their experiences of losing their dad. So I guess when I started fast forwarding it before, maybe they talked about the passing of their dads and, as far as what they have in common. But they both talk about now losing their dads. And then Mirla tells us how her dad died. And I was like, oh my God. She shares that her dad got remarried and had another child, which of course is now her half sister, and she isn't really sure what the relationship was like between the two of them, but it seems as though basically his own daughter set him up to get killed. So she invited him, I guess, over to her house. Her husband sneak attacked him from behind, and they both stabbed her dad to death. And I was like, talk about traumatic. Oh my gosh. Has Mirla gone to therapy for this? I mean, that is a lot. And I'm wondering if, I knew she grew up poor, and this is why she, enjoys money, and she really enjoys buying the finer things and living this luxe life. But I wonder if it's kind of a replacement for the death of her dad. I would be curious if she hasn't explored that or have done something, because I mean, that's a lot for anybody to go through. That is a lot. I may not like the girl, but man, that's rough. But then we see Michaela and Zach, our favorite. They wake up all cuddly. She even is taking boogers out the man's eyes and everything. I'm like, these two are just so infatuated with each other. And then Zach asks her why she did this process. And she said that she got married for a second. Sometimes she can be passive aggressive, which can be a good or a bad thing. And that tends to bleed into her relationships because it's like, things are bothering her, things are going good, things are going bad, and she's kind of like, okay. And Zach says, I'm the same way, and I'm like, ugh. We can't have two passive aggressive people in a relationship because then everything's just going to get brushed over and the real issues that you guys have are never going to get resolved. So interesting. But they both say they aren't jealous people. And Hurricane K says she might be a little possessive though. And Zach says that turns him on. And I'm like, we'll see. We've seen some of the previews of what may be going down later. So we'll see how that turns out. Brent and Ryan, they wake up and they just seem a little awkward to me compared to all the other couples. They just seem the least most comfortable with one another. And I'll kind of get into my other thoughts about Ryan as we talk about, meeting with their in-laws and things like that. But they just haven't had really any real conversations that we've seen thus far that seem to be of substance of, why would we match? What do you do? What do you like? What do you don't like? It's just nothing there so far for me to judge. Johnny and Bao eat breakfast in bed, and they really talk about the last time that they hung out and the fact that they already had each other's phone numbers, which was hilarious. And Bao ends up texting Johnny. He's like, oh yeah, there's your name. It's still saved in my phone. But he had no text messages left over from their conversation. Of course, Excel sheet. Bao had everything still. So she was like, yeah, we were supposed to meet up, and then you just ghosted me. I'm like, Johnny, you just ghost. See how things come back full circle? Don't ghost people. Just be grown-ups about it, okay? But they're just so cute together, and I really hope they work out. I like Michaela and Zach, but actually Johnny and Bao may be my absolute favorite. So we start with the meetings as far as all the spouses meeting with their in-laws or friends or whatever of their spouse, and Jose is first up to meet with Rachel's mom and her friend. He talks highly of her and says that he hasn't seen any negatives yet. And I'm like, well, it's only been like 12, 16, 18 hours. Nobody's going to show you any negatives in that short amount of time. So, sir, pump your brakes. Just wait for it to happen. Her mother says that she's highly educated and organized when it comes to, her work in school, but she can be a bit messy in her personal life. They were like, ooh, wait till you see her house, wait till you see her car. And I'm like, God, can y'all not throw the girl under the bus? She just met the man. Chill. But they say she's big on communication and he needs to express herself. And basically, they also share that her biggest fear is that she would be perceived as annoying. Now, this is a red flag for me because I fear that she will hold back discussing important topics or discussing areas of conflicts because she does not want to be perceived as annoying. So I'm like, I just don't know how this is going to work out because you have to be able to discuss things to find a resolution and not just avoid things just because you're afraid of how others will look at you and perceive the situation. I don't care if you perceive me annoying and we can get it taken care of and we can talk about it just one time. That's better than me personally holding on to that and then internally you having to deal with all that and then basically end up exploding on the other person later on if it comes to that. Yeah, you need to work on that, Rachel. Rachel then meets with Jose's parents and says that she is concerned about how well things are going. And again, I'm like, things are supposed to be going well at this point. You've known each other less than 24 hours. In any other normal relationship, less than 24 hours of knowing each other, everything is going to be peachy and great, okay? You don't know them yet, so it's all right. Like, y'all cut it out. But they say he's big on finances, well organized, almost to the point where I'm like, he sounds a little OCD with it. But she says she isn't a huge saver and finance is not her strong suit. So we'll see if the two of them can kind of get on the same page about that. Ryan then meets with Brett's parents and her mom asks, what did he think when he first saw Brett? And he's like, well, obviously it's the hair. It's red, and either you pull it off or you don't pull it off. And then he kind of leaves it at that, or at least the editing just leaves it at that, so it doesn't really come back full circle to say, but she pulls it off and she makes it look amazing. She is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. She's beautiful. Like, he just doesn't give anything. They ask if he has, any questions for them, and he's like, no, not really. And I'm just like, why is this guy so socially awkward? Like, you have not known this girl for 24 hours and you have no questions for her parents who've known her entire life. Like, come on. You should have been a little bit more prepared, Ryan. I got real annoyed with him with that. But anyway, then Brett meets with Ryan's mom, sister, and friend. They talk about his dating track record. And Brett talks about how she wants him to like her for who she is and not for what he wants. And I really like that she said that. And I just really like Brett. I don't think she is a good fit per se for Ryan, but I really like her as a person so far, because she's like, you get what you get. I'm not into knowing what you like and then trying to fit into that bubble of what you like. I'm going to give you who I am, and you take it or leave it for what it is. You like me, you don't, you don't. So I love that about her. And like I said, I don't know if Brent really knows what he wants, because he's dated so much, and they talk about how he, basically the girls he dated just really had no substance. So I'm like, I'm concerned about them even working out, because I feel like she would get bored very easily with him if he doesn't really step it up. But I think he would enjoy the spice that she could possibly bring to his life. But again, we have to get to the spice if she doesn't get completely bored out of her mind by him before they get to that point. Gill meets up with Mirla's brother and her friends, and it's all guys. So Gil was like, oh, I'm a little comfortable here. Women like to grill you, and I was prepared to be around a lot of women and getting, grilled to the nines. So he's like, okay, I'm cool. But again, we have to discuss finances as well with them. And we know money does not motivate Gil. And we know that Mirla is all about the dollar bills, y'all. But her friends and her brother say, she's created a lifestyle that she can fully sustain on her own, which again, I'm all here for. Like I said last week, that as long as if she wants to keep up with this lifestyle and she wants to fund it herself, great. But Mirla just strikes me as the type that wants to be wine, dine. She wants the fanciness. She wants the gift. She wants all that to come from her significant other. And I just don't think Gil is going to be able to supply that for her. But her brother says that she doesn't need a man, but she wants someone to be with. And I'm like, okay, I don't think any of us technically need somebody, but people always want to feel wanted. But okay. He said that he has full disclosure of her finances as well. So he says she saves the required amount. I don't know what a required amount is, but he says that she saves that amount before she spends anything. So I guess just kind of reassuring Gil, I guess, that she's just not out here spending every dime that she makes and not really saving anything, but just buying all luxury and designer stuff. But we'll see. Again, I think they can work. If they can compromise on either coming together and what's a happy medium for the two of them, they'll be okay. Or if they can agree on just that's something we do differently. I'm not going to pull you on my side. I'm not going to pull you on my side either. And they just live happily ever after that way as well. That can be the only way. But if one of them try to pull and tug the other one in their direction, I think really that's where they're going to butt heads at. But whatever. Anyway, we go on the other side, and Mirla is meeting with Gil's friends, which are two women, oddly enough. So she comes into the space, and to me, when she even comes into the space, Mirla is just not even, I feel like everybody else came in, bubbly, ready to talk. Hello, how y'all doing? She just came in like she got dragged out of the bed, and they was like, come meet with this guy's friends. And she was just like, okay, if I absolutely have to, give me my coat and let me go downstairs and meet these heifers. Like, that's how she came off to me. Like, she just did not care. And she just came in here with just not the best energy. But she says she's tired. And when she gets tired, she gets moody. And, moody for her is kind of just like shutting down. I'm like, girl, can you make a better first impression? Mirla, like, girl, she tears my nerves up. But they share that, Gil is very passionate about things. He's what did they say? He's emotionally loud or something like that. So when he gets like excited or he likes something, he gets very elevated. I guess that's what they were talking about. And then they talk about how he's really big on basically actions and words matching up. So if you come and you say you're going to do something, but your actions show otherwise, he does not like that. And I'm just like, okay. So again, Mirla has to tell us that she's moody. And when she's moody, she gets whiny. And I'm like, are you a woman or are you a toddler who wants a fruit snack at this point? Because I'm sick of it. They talk about his dog again, as far as his friends go. And they're like, oh, you'll love him. He's so sweet, blah, blah, blah. And she's basically is not a fan. She's like, but they smell and they shed. And the girl is like, that's what a Roomba is for. She's like, oh, and I have one, girl. And it's just like, his friends are trying to make light of the situation, and she's just being so negative about everything. Like, I want her to get over herself so bad. Zach meets with Michaela's sisters, and y'all, they look like family already. Like, Zach comes up into the scene like, hey, family, giving out hugs. I'm just like, y'all act like y'all have known each other forever, and I absolutely love it. But he says they only got 2 hours of sleep, and I'm like, all right, Zach, was y'all talking or was y'all talking? Let us know. But anyway, they both seem happy thus far. He says, they say that she's very passionate about things that she wants, and they really want him to be passionate with her. So that's kind of a little nugget for him to take with him of that if she's excited about something and she's telling him about it, like get a little bit elevated and hype with her so that she really feels like you are joining into whatever the success or celebration is that she's talking about. They share that they are very protective of her. Like, that is little sister. We don't play. We protect her. We keep her covered. And we want to trust that we are handing her over to someone that will protect and cover her as well. And I absolutely love it because they are letting Zach know this is the standard. This is not something that's brand new to Michaela of somebody being protective and covering her. So this is where we are, and we expect nothing lower than what we already provide for our system. Yes, sisters, I am here for it. I love, love, love all the support that she has. Michaela then meets with Zach's whole family, the brothers, the mama, the daddy, and the auntie. I'm like, geez, y'all don't think it's a bit intimidating for somebody to sit at a table of someone she just met yesterday? Now she got 6 of his family members staring her in the face. But can I just say, I wanted my girl just to put a little bit more effort into her hair. I mean, I know they didn't get much sleep, and she probably was like, whew, I'm just going to, pin this thing back and wear this wedding hair one more day because I'm about to go get my hair braided. But I'm like, just do, you could have just put it back in a little ponytail or do a little high bun or something else. I just want her to do a little extra, but it's all right. She was still cute. But she seems very comfortable around his family so far. She does share that her father passed away as they were talking about it. And then we get a snippet back from the reception, which was super cute. Like, my eyes started, they started sweating almost a little bit. But they show how the DJ is like calls out for the father-daughter dance for the bride. And of course she starts to get a little bit sad because I believe at this point nobody knows that, her dad is not alive. He's not there, obviously. So she gets a little teary-eyed. Her sisters get a little teary-eyed and everything at the reception. And then we see later on that his dad actually goes up to her and asks her to dance. So she brings that up and she's like, that just meant a lot. And I was so happy to see that. Like, Dad, we know he was not bought in, but to see him really try to make her feel comfortable and not have her be sad at her reception. Dad, you got major brownie points for that one. That was so sweet. But then his dad asks about, how she deals with conflict resolution. And she does share that her parents were not a good example of how to have healthy arguments. But she does try to have healthy arguments as far as just discussing things and coming up with a solution. And if, things are a little bit too heated, walk away. We go our separate ways. And then when we feel like we can discuss again, we will come back into it. So I was like, okay. His dad says, they are all protective of Zach. And we know Mama is like Mama Bear and this is my baby, but he's making it clear, like, everybody at this table, we keep Zach covered. So just like her sisters have her covered, Zach family has his back too. Love, love, love to see it. So again, his mom states that, Zach goes by actions and not words. So Hurricane K, what you gonna show us? Johnny then meets with with Bao's friends and her brother, and they throw her under the bus and says that how she had the whole meltdown about the jerseys. And Johnny is a little bit disappointed because he said he did put a lot of thought into it. And then he does ask, was that something that she just, gets upset, a lot and real easy like that? And all of them kind of shake their head. And I'm like, dang, Bao, you like that with it? That's concerning to me. But they're like, just be patient when it happens. Don't take anything personal. But I'm like, how can you not take it personal when there's such minute things that you are really having a whole meltdown? Because y'all remember she had a whole meltdown about these jerseys that he gave, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So yeah, we're going to see how they work out. But Johnny says he's been on a lot of first dates because basically the minute he finds out that somebody does something he doesn't like or is not a match for him, he kind of just doesn't dig any deeper, and then he just moves on to the next first date because he just figures it's not going to work. So he's basically had no real connection. So hopefully, with doing Married at First Sight, that he's met the person he's supposed to spend his life with. Bao then meets his family, and they welcome her so warmly. Like, they start speaking in Vietnamese, and which I'm assuming, I don't know it, so I'm assuming that's what they were speaking. But it talks about talking to his aunt and his mom. And it was just so cute because they were so welcoming, hugging her, telling her to call her, mom or whatever. I was just like, this is so sweet. But Bao does ask about his dad since he wasn't at the wedding. And they kind of talk about the relationship. And then, of course, we see Johnny discuss it later. But basically, they talk about how they're ready for some babies. And Bao is like, okay, slow your roll. It ain't happening right now. We then see Michaela and Zach meet back up at the brunch with their families. They had a great time. Zach shares that his parents are hard to impress. And I was like, I wouldn't have gotten that from him because I feel like his family was very easygoing with Michaela. So maybe just as they made Michaela feel really relaxed, maybe she made them feel the same. And that's why we didn't see, them really give her such a hard time. But then she's like, I got to go get my hair braided. It's almost time for the honeymoon. And I got to get this hair did. So she goes off. Johnny and Bao, they meet up after, they've had brunch with their families. And it was so cute. I feel like the minute she stepped into the frame with him, like just the look on his face was like, oh my God, she's gorgeous. And he was like, you're so beautiful. Did you get this dressed up for my family? And I was just like, y'all are just so doggone cute. Oh my gosh, I love the two of them. But his face just lit up when he saw her and saw how pretty she was. And I absolutely loved it. And then Johnny does talk about, his dad not supporting the decision of him getting married at first sight. Once Bao talks about that, they discussed it a little bit at brunch with his family. And he gets a little bit emotional about it, but Bao definitely reassures him that, he'll come around. I'll win him over. I'm really good with dads. And I was so appreciative that in this moment, she even was like rubbing his hand and holding him. And that was huge for Bao to really recognize that's what he needed in the moment, since physical touch is not her thing, but she knows it is his. So even just that little gesture, I saw that in her trying with him. So yeah, I just love them. Brent and Ryan, they catch up and talk about how things will unfold over time, because while she was with his family, they kind of talked about needing to maybe pry things out of him, and they both kind of agree there's really no need to pry things out of each other, but as we get to know each other, things will just naturally come about, and we'll discuss it as it comes. Jose and Rachel talk, and he talks about, her taking mental notes, because that was what her friend noted about her, of that, she won't necessarily say anything sometimes, but she kind of takes a mental note. And again, not a good thing, because what you end up doing is taking all these mental notes that the other person knows nothing about, but in your mind, you have this long checklist of notes that have been checked off. And then the next thing you know, because somebody left a dirty frying pan in the sink, you are going completely off on everybody for everything. So she says that it's something that she, wants to work on, and she wants to address things as they happen. But again, her friend really didn't mention that this is something that has changed. She mentioned it as in something to be aware of. So we'll see how Rachel's going to do with that. Jose talks about his finances once again, and she has to say how she's, not great about it. And then he has to talk about, how he's done this, he's done that, he's got his houses, he's paid off this, he's got his cars or whatever. And I'm just like, Jose, that is all great. But it's almost like he wears it as a badge of honor. Like he's in this elite organization because he's just done so well. Because he's like, I've done all this to prepare for, for my wife, for you, so that we don't have to worry about those things. And I'm like, that is great. But just it's coming off almost a little bit arrogant at this point because we've talked about it so many times and I'm kind of over it. So we then see Mirla and Gill. We have to keep the finances conversation going again. And they talk about, their discussions with their friends and family. Mirla tells us that she is definitely driven by money, which we are not shocked or surprised at. And Gill is not. And I don't know if I necessarily... Wait, I don't want to say I don't believe that Gill is not motivated by money because I want to believe truly that he is being honest. But I also feel that maybe it's a little bit of a defense mechanism because he probably does not make as much. And he knows that because being a firefighter, that they don't make a ton of money. So any woman that he gets with, if she's, highly educated and motivated, she's probably going to make more than him. So I don't know if he kind of just says that out the gate to make it seem like, oh, I'm completely not bothered by that because money doesn't drive me. I'm, sufficient in whatever I do make and I'm happy with that. So I don't know, but I'm curious to see how that's going to unfold. But Michaela is back with her box braids, and her and Zach are waking up the next morning, and honey child, they are very, 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 very happy. Zach says, we have found probably another reason why we were matched, and it's a little bit personal, so I'm not going to get all into it. But if what happened last night keeps on happening, I'm going to die happy married. And I was like, there you go, Michaela. Let him know. Let him know. But I'm nosy. I want the details. What happened? What happened? Give us the details. Y'all don't want to know? I don't need to know all the details, but I kind of want to know because they look like they had a good time. Michaela was just blushing and she couldn't even gather herself. So I was like, give us the details, sis. Give us the details. Anyway, all the couples get ready to go on their honeymoon. So they all get to knock on the door, get their little honeymoon package to find out that they are going to the Keys for their honeymoon. And everybody's like, yes, vacation, honeymoon, the Keys. We're so excited. Except Mirla. Mirla ain't happy, but at this point, what is new? So they start going through the little bag and they got hats that say Mr. and Mrs. And Gill was like, oh, you said you needed a hat. And she's like, yeah, but I can't wear it because I got a high bun. And Gill's like, get a visor, but I don't like visors. Ooh, we got sunscreen. Yes, we need it, but it's only SPF 30. And then he puts on his cute little groom mask. And she's like, where's mine? And then he's like, it's in your hand. And she's like, oh, but I can't put it on anyway because of my lashes. I'm like, Mirla, girl, let's move on, yeah. We go back to Ryan and Brent. Brent is basically scared to fly. We see Bao and Johnny. Bao is trying to pack up and she's like, ooh, where's my tablet? Because I need to get my Excel spreadsheet so I can make sure I got everything. And I'm like, Bao, we don't need an Excel spreadsheet to pack. And she's like, no, I got, my outfits, my dress. So once I laid everything out, I just got to go to the closet and pick it out. And I'm just like, so is it not more efficient just to go to the closet and pick it out? That don't save time of not doing an Excel spreadsheet to pack? To pack? If y'all anything like me, when it's time to go packing, as far as clothes, you go from head to toe. If you need any headbands, head ties, head scarf, got that. I got glasses, I got contacts, I got shirts, I got bras, I got underwears, I got pants or skirts, and I got socks and shoes and underwear. I kind of just run myself down and I have everything. Like it does not require that much thought. And Johnny's like, I know I've made it and we gonna be all right when she gives me control of the spreadsheet or she lets me pack for her. I'm like, good luck with that, sir. Okay. But it's just not that serious. We then see Rachel and Jose packing up for the vacation, and Jose takes the whole bowl of condoms and dumps it into the bag so that they can have a good time on their honeymoon. And then Rachel turns around and takes them out of the bag and says, but no, we can't make babies that way. And I was like, what are we doing here? No, ma'am. Wrap it up. No, ma'am. That's not what we're doing. Anyway, we finally see all the couples fly in. They arrive in Florida, and this just makes me so ready for my next vacation. I cannot wait to be on somebody's beach, okay? But anyway, the rooms look nice. Although I am being super picky, I am not a fan of hotels where the door is on the outside of the hotel. So where it's like you immediately open your hotel door and you are outside and not inside the hotel building. Is it just me? But I don't like that. I feel like it's too easy for somebody to come get me. I know it makes no sense, but that's just how I feel. But Rachel and Jose get ready for bed, and we see them brushing their teeth, and he's brushing, and he's all aggressive with it, of electric toothbrush, and she's like, I got one, but I just don't bring it. And then he even says, he asks to brush her teeth, and I'm like, ew. But she's like, in her confessional, she's like, I'm a grown adult. I can brush my own teeth. I really hope he was playing. And I got, girl, we all hope he was kidding, because that is a bit much. She can take care of her own hygiene, okay? But they talk about just wanting to have a good time on their honeymoon, being spontaneous. And Jose is just being, I don't know. To me, he's being a bit over the top. I don't really care for him at this point. We'll see what else he brings us in the next few episodes, but he's just like, oh, she's just checking off all my boxes and everything that I asked for. And I'm like, it's only been like 48 hours, Jose. I'm so afraid that he's putting her on such a high pedestal, and then when they start to have problems, it's really gonna come crashing down on him, and he's not gonna know how to mentally deal with that. So I'm kind of afraid that he's not gonna be able to handle that appropriately, but we'll see how that plays out. Mirla and Gill walk into their hotel room, and we already know Miss Picky Mirla is not gonna like it, because this is not high-end 5-star luxury hotel, okay? Gill is super excited. He's like, oh, look at the room, look at the pool, go outside to the balcony. And she's like, but the other room is so close. Oh my God. And my pool is bigger than this pool. And you know what is missing? The sound of the waves is missing. This is just so sad. And I'm like, you just killed the vibe all the way around. But she says, this honeymoon would be great at a beachfront resort, but not a senior citizen facility. And I'm like, Mirla, it's a whole panorama, a whole pandemic going on outside. Production got to do what they got to do, okay? Cut it out. Anyway, it just seems like throughout all their interactions, Gill is so much more optimistic and hopeful and positive as to where they're going, and then she quickly takes a fly swat to it, and she's like, too much fun. We're getting too excited. No. I need better. This is not what it's just so annoying at this point. But they talk, and she says that she's kind of, I just kind of go with the flow, and Gill is me is Gill, and we're like, you go with the flow. I'm like, this girl has no self-awareness. You do not go with the flow. You have not gone with the flow thus far since we met at the altar. Like, the only thing you've gone with the flow with is actually saying I do and getting married. The rest of the stuff you have found some issue with. Girl, bye. But I'm sure she made a mental note that she'll probably bring that back up later. Anyway, we go back to Brent and Ryan, and we know that Brent is kind of terrified of flying. They had a whole episode, but Brent survived the flight. Ryan is there to comfort her. But she talks about, I'm just not an easy flyer, but they show us no footage as to what this actually means. Like, are you crying hysterically? Are you hyperventilating? Are you throwing up? Are you just squeezing the chair? Like, what is actually going on that you're not an easy flyer? Like, I want to know how bad she acted up. Married at First Sight can give us footage on anything else, but we don't got no footage on how she acted a fool on this flight, if that's what she did, because when we go back and Ryan is like, it was almost a disaster. He said if someone acted like she did on the plane in a dating scenario, he probably would never have flown with that person because he wouldn't be dating them anymore. And I'm like, damn, what did she do on this flight? Like, I need more information, because he looked fully annoyed and pissed at this point. And I'm like, I want the footage, okay? Anyway, the episode wraps up with Johnny and Bao getting ready for bed. He says he's up for the challenge to be, emotionally supportive for her. And he just really reassures her and tells her that, he's comfortable with things slowing all the way down if, that's what she prefers. But he is just ready and willing to be super accommodating. I absolutely love it. Like, if this is what everything that he's saying is true, I absolutely love how comforting and supportive and reassuring he's really being with Bao. And because she is the more reserved one and he's not, so he's really shifting himself to really accommodate her. Absolutely love it. But they kind of talk a little bit about things sexually, and she says that, you know, during their private time, their kisses are pretty passionate. And she says because the kisses are so passionate, that says a lot of how he may be sexually. And I'm like, okay, Johnny, okay. And Johnny's like, I am vanilla. All I need is penis in the vagina, and I'm good to go. We don't need to do no other tricks, no other surprises. That's all I need, and I'm good. And I'm like, okay. But Val looked like sooner rather than later, she gonna be ready to take it for a test drive and see what it's hitting for, okay? But Zach then says, once they go back to Zach and Michaela, says he does not feel well and he has to take a COVID test, and they'll get his results in the morning. So he stayed masked up and probably will sleep in the other bedroom. And at this point, I'm like, weren't y'all just intimate the night before? If he got COVID, you got COVID at this point, honey. Like, what is the point of isolation? But anyway, we'll see what happens next week, because it looks like next week the couples get a chance to all hang out together and we're going to get in some activities. So I am all here for it, y'all. Maybe after the honeymoon, I'm going to then do some predictions as to who I think is going to make it and who is not going to make it. But if y'all already have your thoughts and ideas, let me know in the comments below. How did y'all like this episode? Did y'all feel like they got along with their now in-laws or friends of their spouse? And just, you know, let's chat it up below. I always like reading the comments and talking to y'all. But until next week, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.